It's now on those stories and the potential for a partial government shutdown on Friday. Punchbowl News co-founder Jake Sherman. He's an NBC News and an MSNBC contributor. Every time, I guess we'll talk about the shutdown, Jake. But first, I think the elephant in the room, we got to see what happens with Nikki Haley. There's some rumblings that even though she says, I'm not going anywhere, that you're starting to see possibly signals that the end might be coming. It might be the beginning of her trying to get some kind of graceful exit.
I mean, listen, her whole play is she's a hedge against Donald Trump being convicted or whatever. But I think it's difficult to continue to make the case that she has a viable path when she hasn't won a single state. But your point, Joe, and her point that 40% is pretty damn high. I mean, it's not an insignificant number of voters that don't want Donald Trump to be the nominee. And I was talking to a group the other day, and someone raised their hand and said, well, where do voters like me go if we're Republicans and we don't want Donald Trump? And I said to this guy, I just think you're going to vote for Trump at the end of the day, because I think most voters will just say, we don't want Joe Biden to be president. We don't, and we're going to fold and vote for Donald Trump. So I just think that it might be a little bit overstated that Republicans won't vote for Trump. But I do hear your point on independence. It's very scary for the Trump campaign.
It's a couple wild cards. Immigration is just, I mean, I don't know. There are people that would never vote for Trump. I think that because of what's happening at the border, might just say, I don't care, I'm doing it. Every time something like Georgia happens, Jake, I mean, that just inflames passion. And I'm talking about that unfortunate, really tragic incident that happened down in Athens to that young nursing student. And whenever that happens, it's like, you saw I'm sure you're on Twitter. You saw how many people said they're ascribing blame to the current administration for what's happening.
And they do deserve some blame, generally speaking, for the situation at the border. But I think, listen, and I'm not suggesting voters will take into account the nuance of the situation, but both parties have heavy loads of blame here.
I don't think it's even close, Jake. I mean, I hear that. I hear that, and I know that they walked away from a deal after they said they wanted a deal. But day one, he took all those executive orders, day one, and he could put them all back in right now. All the things that kept the border much more closed, and he hasn't. So he can look into the camera, and all of his people can look in and say, this is not my fault. No one, I don't think anyone's buying it. But I don't think that's enough. I could still see, after you saw it in 2020, you saw it in 2022. When it's all said and done, there are certain, there are certain wins that make it difficult for Trump to get over that 40% mark, 45% mark. And I could definitely see it happening again, even if it is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I think you're right. I do agree that Joe Biden took a big step on the border at the beginning of his term, and Democrats have said to me privately, "Listen, we didn't take this seriously enough. We should have said what Trump was doing on the border was not right, but we're going to secure the border in the way we believe it should be secured." They did not do that. They stepped around the fact that it is a crisis, and I think everybody realizes that. I mean, I was down there, and I covered this stuff, and I was shocked at just the openness of the border in the Eagle Pass sector. I was down there with Speaker Mike Johnson a couple months ago, and it is quite shocking, to be honest with you. But listen, Biden hopes that he can muddy the waters a little bit and say Republicans want this as a political issue. With Joe, I will say there is a lot of evidence that congressional Republicans do not, at least in the House, do not want to solve this with Joe Biden in office. And maybe that's a cynical point of view, but I think it's true.
No, I'm certain that's. I don't think we want to solve anything between now and November. Is Ukraine anything going to happen there? It seems like the people that on the Republican Party that don't want to give more funding to Ukraine, it seems like that. The chorus of cries from them are getting even louder at this point. Where's the money going? If we give you this money, are you telling us you're going to win? Obviously, that's not going to happen. We spent, what was Trump asking for? $5 billion to close the border, and in this bill, it's another I mean, this is just another 60. That's just part of the down payment on how much more there would be over the next 2 or 3 years, right? This is just another 60, but we're talking 60 after that and 60 after that, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's an unfair comparison to compare it with Trump because he was a uniquely ineffective legislative president.
Well, and Mexico was going to pay anyway, so it didn't matter.
Right, exactly.
It wasn't going to be our $5 billion. But still, you know what I mean. I mean, yes. $60 billion, and we don't know what really where, when Zelensky recently was on in interviews, he conceded some of it does go to pensions for soldiers. Some of it does go to, to taking care of families of people that are, 31,000 soldiers have lost their lives in Ukraine.
Yeah, but Joe, much of this is not just straight cash to the Ukrainians. A lot of it is manufacturing American weapons and sending it to Ukraine, or actually replacing U.S. weapons that we've already sent to Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
The answer to your question is I do believe at some point this will get done. I think Speaker Mike Johnson has been very non-committal and very wobbly on how it will get done, whether it will get done through a so-called discharge petition, which is a complex legislative maneuver, which allows 218 people to bring a bill to the floor without the leadership. But I do think, and remember, Israel aid is tied up in this, and Taiwan aid is also tied up in this. And I think the supporters of Israel aid, which is a vast majority of members of Congress, are getting very frustrated.
Hey, Jake, I got one more question for you. There's obviously been lots of questions about the mental acuity of the president. Over the weekend, there was a number of headlines coming out, frankly, of the Drudge Report and others, taking on the mental acuity of the former President Trump, with some gaffes and comments that he made. Joe and I were talking about them during the commercial break.
I don't think it's close.
I think Joe was saying he didn't think it was close. What do you think's happening?
Let me put on my neurology cap for a second. Yeah. I don't know the answer to that. I think Republicans are not going to criticize Trump no matter what he does. He could get up there and completely freeze on stage, and he would have no one say anything about him. I think there's obviously a lot of Democrats who are extraordinarily worried about Joe Biden and his ability to win. I think that still the odds are 80%, 85% Joe Biden is going to be the nominee when the convention comes around in just a couple of months. I don't think it's even close.